Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this is our session one of Star Trek Kintsugi. Last time we did our session zero, where we created our characters using the life path method. We established our safety tools. We talked about some questions of setup, got some ideas about what people wanted. In between sessions, I presented the idea of a Challenger class starship, which has a crew complement max of about 300, which is in the range that the players asked for last time. And so we're going to go with that. Alan has pulled up in the background a layout of a Challenger class. There are other resources available for it. It is a ship that's appeared a couple of times on Star Trek, but it's not like a big main line ship. This is our first session, so I'll remind you that we are using lines and veils. We are using the X card, and we are having open door policy. Just to quickly go over our lines: hard lines on bullying, harm to children, homophobia, PC betrayal, racism, sexual assault, torture by the PCs, and then veils on graphic gore or sexual content. We are using a roller that is built into the app. I have to pull that up on mine. Let me do that. 2D20, Stellar Travel Adventures. I have a question for you because I'm still getting used to this. One of the things that I talked to Anya about briefly is that you should be able to save your character's stats in there. So we'll talk about that a little bit later off camera and see if we can figure out how that works precisely with this. So we'll do that. I do need Alan. There is a romance matrix on the safety tab. So if you would go ahead and note that. So we are going to be starting with our session one, where we're going to kind of introduce the ship. We're going to put people in. We'll have some questions about where they were 18 months back from the start of this. And then we're going to kind of arrive with the flyby glamour shots of the ship to get that into place here. So I did want to check, Alan, I know you made some changes in between.
Yeah, I realized that I created a Tellarite with an eye for detail, with negligible control, but an enormous amount of personal insight. So I went back through the character creation, made the same choices, but where I had previously avoided control or chosen insight, I made the other decision. And so what that's done in effect, I think, is to shift a 10 in insight into a 9 and a 9 in control into a 10.
Okay. Did anyone else make any changes? Anything you want to mention?
So I changed out one of my talents
Mhm.
to a personal effect, the Whispering Blade that was part of my Discovered an Artifact life path event.
Mhm.
I think this is we've seen it in Star Trek before, right? You get weird like phenomena and events, and rather than being put away in a warehouse of top men, they just sort of are attached to the crew slash ship slash whatever that dealt with it, right? Like Data springs to mind, for
Right.
example, right? Like, um, so I don't know in terms of
Is
mechanically how to define the blade particularly.
is this the thing that is giving you the psychometry?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
one of the things it does, so there's actually a mechanic in the player's guide talking about sort of additional psychic powers. And basically, it allows you to gain information,
Mm-hmm.
but like in a different way. That gives you these visions and things like this. That is kind of potent and outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what the book has is when you do that, you get information, but you also generate threat. So we may do that, or we may do like it'll generate a piece of information. Then if you want more information, we'll generate threat. We'll see
Cool.
how that plays out. I think that will be the way to work with that.
Yes. I kind of imagine it as like, I don't know, maybe not like a sword, more like a kind of ritualistic, like knife kind of thing, you know?
Okay.
And I was just maybe thinking of grabbing, because I managed to get the Star Trek Core PDF. I haven't read it yet. I just was like determined to look at some equipment stats now that
Right.
I'd set out on an equipment. Thinking maybe like the knife
Yeah.
stat block, one vicious, one-handed, deadly, hidden, opportunity one. Apparently that personal effect talent, it says something about no more than opportunity two, escalation one. I have no idea what those things mean. So
I wouldn't worry about those things for the purposes of what we're doing. I think if it's a knife and it allows you that psychometry ability, I think that seems reasonable for what we're doing.
I mean, hell, if there was something special that I got from stabbing somebody with it, that would be fun as well, right? But
Okay. Well,
I'm not worked
we'll
that
look at
mechanically
that.
out yet. Yeah.
What vicious is you may recall this from Fallout. It's basically when you roll an effect, vicious does an additional thing, but I have
Yeah.
to look exactly what that is.
That was a major. It was the opportunity and escalation where I was like, those are words that I could guess, but I don't know what they mean in terms of the bigger they get, or the fact that a bathleth has one escalation and two opportunity. What does that mean?
Do you want me to actually tell you?
Sure.
Sure. So opportunity is the difficulty for getting it if you wanted to roll to have the equipment on you, and escalation is the threat that you give the GM when you put such an object, when you like call it up. Essentially, you're showing that maybe deadly force has arrived, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Quite like
but we're not going to worry about that for the purposes of this. It's a knife with those stats, and it has this additional ability that will give you fictional positioning for doing psychometry and potentially generate more threat for me.
Cool. I'm always happy to generate more threat for you, Lowell.
Absolutely. Donna, you also had a change you were making?
Not a change, just kind of a rules query. So by the calculation of fitness plus security, I stressed 10, but then that talent I took, resolute, says I increase my maximum stress by 3. Does that mean I have 13, or is maximum stress some other thing?
Nope, I have 13 stress.
Okay.
All right. So we are going to start by talking about essentially the events of 18 months ago. This is the question of where were you when Wolf 359 happened? And just to remind you that those events came out of nowhere for the Federation. There was very little warning. There was the arrival of the Borg cube, and there was the desperate mustering of the fleet there at that location. 50-some ships, the vast majority of which were destroyed with all hands in many of the cases. There were survivors, notably some of that is covered in DS9 and also in Picard, people who did make it out of there. But by and large, ships were devastated. So let's start with this. I think, Astrid, you're potentially the youngest, I believe, of the team. So where were you? Were you serving on a ship? Were you at Starfleet Academy? Like, what do you picture as that scene?
Yeah, I think Starfleet Academy was where I was at the time of Wolf 359. I wonder if, obviously news would have traveled through the academy, but maybe, certain instructors or such were, you know, mustered at short notice to make up some crews,
Mm-hmm.
So I think certainly we knew something big was happening, even before the disastrous encounter uh, unveiled itself.
And your brother was on the Melbourne, right?
Yeah. So given that I come from a Starfleet family, I think, older brother, maybe a lieutenant on the USS Melbourne, um, which I think was pretty well taken care of by the Borg. So I'm not sure if we have clear like KIA or whether a lot of people are MIA, but no.
I think they are declared dead. I think, given the factors of this. Now, like you had mentioned before, the idea that maybe your brother had reached out to you when all of this went down. Like, was there do we get a scene on screen of you watching a video, or were you communicating with him before it was cut off? Like what do we see in the TV show for this?
So I think there is like before the engagement, there is one of these very short conversations. Can't speak for long. We're just about it to jump in to action, and it's almost like that there's no way we're not going to be able to take this. So good luck in your end of year's exams. I'll see you next week. Kind of message from her brother.
And I think then there's a concern and silence and upset in the academy, and then no one's saying anything for a bit, but something bad has happened, and I think en masse, a group of probably a dozen of you are brought in, and you've seen other groups being taken to different locations, and it's essentially a starbase officer there who has to, not individually but in a group, tell you all that your loved one, your relative, whoever has died. The Melbourne is gone, and we at this point believe that there are no survivors, and kind of it's not perfunctory, but you can tell that no one has had to deal with an incident of this scale before. What do you think your reaction was to that? What do we see? Is it stoicism? Is it emotion? Like what's your response?
I mean, I think in that moment, it's stoicism, or at least it's stony faced, trying to process, masquerading as stoicism. And then maybe only later on, kind of in quarters, when it's not just the Melbourne, it's everything else. We have what's happened, the scale of what's happened, kind of breaking in to that kind of thin veneer of kind of keeping it together.
Nice. Let's come to our engineer, our Tellarite. Latal, where were you when this went down?
I think probably in a Jeffries tube, tinkering with stuff. And I've probably got some non-com assistants, just outside the Jeffries tube saying, will you pass me the 83 now? I said, pass me the 83. And then I can hear, there's a screen with just, some commentary running over the top of it. And I look out, and the entire deck of this starship in building, because I'm not in an active post at this point, having been sidelined for 5 or 10 years. And there's just all these people just looking at this wall screen where, you know, there's a talking head, and across the bottom is coming in news of, you know, we believe Melbourne, Buran, you know, and so on, lost. And I look at that, and I poke the NCO and say, so can you give me the 83?
And I think everyone else is kind of standing agog. There is a time that you hold there before you have to go and get it yourself. And I think there's just the run of the ships behind you. And I think when we do come into the main series, of course, your uniform is going to be very different. Like you're in that classic sort of Tellarite work jumpsuit kind of thing, such that we'll see you in actual uniform and pips here in a bit. What about for our Beta Z? What about for Drenna? Where were you at?
If it's okay, I think the first thing that you see of a lieutenant of a Dren of 8 is I don't know, Lieutenant of 8? Is that an appropriate rank, do we think? I'm not good on military ranks, I admit. It's the problem of learning them from Star Wars, which plays fast and loose with the ideas entirely.
I have to look, but I do think that 2 pips is lieutenant.
Okay.
Yeah, second lieutenant. So
Lieutenant.
2 pips would be lieutenant.
British as hell, yeah. We're on the Royal Federation Starfleet, yeah. I think the first thing you see of a Lieutenant of 8 is a shuttle working its way through the debris of in the aftermath of Wolf 359, and you know, like wearing the Star Trek spacesuits, like peering across it, and the comms chatter coming in, and Vate holding his hand up against the hull, a direct like dish of a ship, when and someone in here, like you can't read, like, and there's nothing on the life signs, Lieutenant, and Vate's like, no, there's someone inside, and just begins to cut his way through the hull, and in one of the Jeffries tubes, locked, you know, there is a couple of survivors from the Battle of Wolf 359 that he was immediately dispatched to go and save who could be saved, right? Clearly, probably about a good hour or so after the Enterprise warps out.
So what do you think, like what do we see that tells us about what impact having to go and do rescue and salvage and see this many dead, what impact does that have on somebody who is an empath?
I think it's as they pull the survivors onto the shuttle, and you know, he just stares out through the plastine screen, you know, because they have windows in Star Trek ships, of course, for dramatic effect from time to time. And I think that, like, as he stares out, you know, you see like the shadows of the bodies and the wreckage going across, right? And it plays back in his head, and you can just hear those whispers in his head of all the different voices of the screams and everything coming up, and then, you know, as they hit warp speed, it suddenly goes silent, and he just smiles like weakly up at the pilot and just says, well, I guess some is better than none.
And then Commander Carlton, you were at Wolf 359. What happened? Where were you? What went down?
So I'll buy into what Will, Lieutenant Vate, said. Basically, I was on the USS Garrett Anderson, a medical support ship at the periphery of the battle. Clearly, we underestimated the Borg cube, and the Garrett Anderson took a direct hit. And I think as it was a reasonably low powered shot at that range, as the ship begins to break up, you see Commander Carlton, or probably at that stage Lieutenant Commander Carlton, grabbing a few other medical personnel and bundling them into a Jeffries tube. And as the ship disintegrates, he's trying to close the hatchway on the Jeffries tube, and he has to make that uncomfortable decision. The tube doesn't hold enough people, and there's people sort of trying to pull the door open, and he's trying to draw it shut. And I think he shoves his hand through the door to push him away, and then spins the wheel, and that's how he's come to lose his arm. And then I think that's the sort of flashback, and then maybe we see Lieutenant Veidt pulling out Lieutenant Commander Carlton from that Jeffries tube. It's all gone nice and cold. They are the few survivors. You okay with that, Will?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe the better sum than none was said as he looked over at the in shock body of Commander Carlton, right, with all of the as the ship's medic fusses over your ruined arm and your what would it be like, the space frost. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. The vacuum frost, basically.
And I think that's some of the sort of the moment that we see Commander Carlton kind of waking up from, as there's the sound at the door, and the attaché is there. It says, Commander Carlton, the shuttle's ready to transport you and the last of the crew over to the Kintsugi. Are you all set?
I think he takes a bit of a long pause at that, and he's trying to sort of see himself now as a full commander. And I think you can see him thinking about all the people that were lost on the Garrett Anderson. He turns to the person and says, indeed, let's make it happen.
And I think we'll see a gathering that happens to be these four people are the last to arrive. Ensign Ward, Lieutenant Veidt, Lieutenant Commander Lital, and Commander Carlton there at Utopia Planitia, going to the shuttle to head out, and we see you flying out. We can see in the background lots of ships. We can see, various ships that are being repaired. We can see completely new ships. We can see like a Galaxy class, like the Bellerophon, and some others in the background. They're sparkling and new in a lot of ways. And I think when we come to the Kintsugi, there's a quality difference. This is a ship that has been reclaimed. We see that kind of the usual patchwork, how when you look on screen, there's the little bits that kind of all come together. Here, the patchwork is more distinct. Sections are of slightly different color qualities. We can see that there are small differences in design between the two nacelles. They're not symmetrical like they would be on a standard ship. And I think that perhaps, to your shock, Astrid, you will recognize that one of the nacelles is from the Melbourne, from your brother's ship there, as you are approaching. And we do that shot, it's the classic Star Trek shot of the four of you flying around the vessel, looking at it, and getting ready to go underway. Commander, what do you you watching these crew, do you think these are all people that you handpicked, or were they assigned? Or is there, what do you think of these particular three?
I think I would have requested Lieutenant Vate. I definitely know Han Latal due to the transporter accident I suffered. But no, I think Ensign Ward is. Donna, are you sort of fresh faced out of Starfleet Academy, are you?
So yeah, maybe a year, I guess, is the first ship available, right? Or something along those lines. So I mean, as fresh face as they get in the fleet, really,
Mm-hmm.
without being called Wesley Crusher.
No. I mean, you're a regular intake.
Yeah,
sort of, yeah.
Well, and has been on at least one ship before where there was an issue with your commanding officer there.
Yeah.
Where this is probably your first big assignment.
So yeah, I don't know Ensign Ward apart from the sort of data pack file that I've had on all the senior crew.
Lieutenant Latal, were you part of the team working on the Kintsugi, or is this the first time you've seen it?
No, I think I probably am. I think that we stitched it together from leftover bits, and I am horrified by it. It is going to take a lot of work in flight, Captain. I hope you understand that. I will need you to prioritize engineering above other services in order to get this thing anywhere quickly.
Of course, Mr. Natal. But the mission comes first. You know that.
Yeah, yes, and in order for a mission to proceed, Captain, you must remember we need a ship.
Indeed, we do.
I think it's kind of beautiful, Lital. I mean, all those bits and pieces smashed together. You know, it's just like the Federation.
It's actually not at all like the Federation. The Federation is a finely oiled working machine. This is not yet that. I've read your file.
A good analogy, though.
What would you know anyway?
And I look over at Ensign Ward as I think perhaps the view screen's displaying the names of the ships that were put together for this, and I see the Melbourne. And I just say, I just look, and I think I just sort of like look over and I put one hand on her shoulder and I just go, I know that the Federation has always been about making the best with what you've got.
Is that a coded message to Ensign Ward that she is in some way less than the best? Or have I misunderstood?
I look at Ward as in like, this isn't really my thing. I think that all I got was that like the feeling of grief as he looked over the Melbourne, right? You know, like.
Yeah, I think like there is like maybe a softening of features, and I think Lital's cutting edge remark about about her being a cast off or whatever the implication is, like, makes her smirk.
Anyway, Captain, enough of this. I've taken the liberty of preparing some requisitions in terms of staffing allocations to ensure that engineering has what it needs. I'll send them to you.
Excellent. I'd expect nothing less, Latal.
And we'll see the ship shuttlecraft come by, head to the docking bay. As you disembark, there's the whistle sound, captain on deck. So do you have a number one or a first officer, Commander?
Yeah, let's go for it. I've never met them though.
Okay. So what do you know about them? Give me one detail that you know.
That they weren't at Wolf 351.
Okay. Let's build on that. They weren't at Wolf 359. Lieutenant Vate, what's another detail we know about this first officer? Race, gender, age, role. What do we know?
I think that they are a Andorian. Is that the ones with the blue little?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I always like them. Yeah, he's an Andorian.
Okay.
Oh, Andorian. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Take a second off the table.
And Donna, what is something reputation wise or background wise that you know about this first officer?
I mean, I know that on my personal tablet. Do we call them personal tablets in Star Trek? I already
Data
have
pad.
a list of assignments that I will be expected to complete by 2,300 hours tomorrow. So I don't know whether that's efficiency or no nonsense or hard ass. I am willing to find out.
All right. Uh, 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 Lieutenant Commander Littall, this Andorian, male or female?
Female.
Female. Okay. So let's call her. I pulled up that name. First officer, and we'll go by the first name. Vrolla, Vrolla. And you've had, I mean, Tellarites and Andorians are not necessarily known for the best relations in the past, but you've had at least one or two interactions with First Officer Vrolla. Good, bad, indifference?
Like all Andorians, driven to be rather overactive, in my view, and to be rash. Yeah, rash. That's how I describe her.
I think a similar thing has been written in their assessment of you in the reports, but she will greet all of you. We will see the group walking through the halls. I think you are taken to the bridge. And as Alan suggested, this is not the spacious spacious bridge of the Enterprise, but it is much more like the tighter setup for the battle bridge that we've seen a couple of times on that ship. Do you think, Commander, that you have a ready room off of here, or is it small, or do you have to go down to that? What do you think that is here for this kind of?
I think we have to go down to the ready room.
Okay. So I imagine, and let's say that it is actually like there are like a walk down, like a set of steps down to a physical lower area that has your ready room and has like some extra consoles and things, and you're kind of getting that set up. What do we see here that you've had sent on ahead to decorate your ready room?
I think it's a part of the hull of the Garrett Anderson. So it's got that, you can just make out part of the word, but it's got that sort of burnt, sort of smolder look around the side of the metal.
Glass case, it's on kind of a stand. It's got the light on it. We can kind of see it in the background as you go back to your desk. Anything else here that we should note? Do you have books? Do you have things set up? Are there boxes here? Like, what do we know about you from what we see?
I think many leather-bound books in rich mahogany.
Absolutely. A beautiful setup for that. Ensign Astrid, we're going to kind of cut from, we've had that tour of the bridge, we're going to cut to you being kind of assigned to your quarters. This is a smaller ship, which means that you are doubled up in your essentially bunks. So when you arrive there, let me ask you two questions. A, what have you sent ahead? Like, what have you sent to be as personal items? And then who is your roommate?
I'll go first.
Yeah, we're going to start with you.
So I think I haven't sent ahead too much stuff. There is maybe some kind of archival stuff about this ship in terms of the specs, because I know I'm going to have to do my homework. So there's very little. It's relatively Spartan. I think maybe my roommate's possessions have already kind of started to spill over into the empty space in my half of the room. There is, though, like a case. I think something like something awkward that takes up a lot of space, like an ice hockey stick.
Okay.
Which is going to be attached to the wall. I think this is like my brother's or something. This is like a definitely useless memento of his youth. And it's it's in grotty condition, like there is taping on it and scuff marks and everything like that. It is not like a collector's item at all. As for the roommate, let me grab a name. Maybe
sure.
I don't know. Right, let me just grab a name. Yeah, let's call her Adira Lee. I think human. I'm not sure if we bunk by rank, whether that seems like a sensible move to make.
Yeah, I think ensigns are put together in paired or quad rooms.
Okay. But let's put her on the security staff, maybe.
Okay.
So that we're not particularly working together day to day.
Right. We'll figure out more about Adira after a bit. Lieutenant Vate, what is the scene that we're going to see for you? Do we see your room? You're a lieutenant, so you have a single room. It is small, but you have a room to yourself. Where do we see you? Do we see you in the security room? Do we see you in your own room? What do we see?
I think we see Lieutenant Vate messing around with one of the shuttles, arguing with one of the engineering team, who's insisting that regulations say that the gear must be stowed in this way, in this box, in this thing, and Vate picking up the box and throwing it out the back as he says, "Look, you put that there, you can't get to the hyper stimulator gear, and that's what you need first, right? I know regulations say this, but when you're in 0G and you're coming up against, like a radiation storm, you're going to want that right there, right? This other stuff, you can get it whenever. I would strap it to the outside. Hell, I'd leave it on board the Kintsugi. It can wait."
Uh, and like what are the other, like there are other people around that are kind of watching this. Who do you think they're sympathizing with, you or the person who's kind of trying to do their job?
I think in my head canon is almost that like his quarters is relatively Spartan and like but like the one thing that you can see there is a hollow display of all the people that he has saved during his time in search and rescue, and a smaller one which shows just the like like tally marks going up, and those are all the people that he hasn't saved. So I think that he's got a reputation for being knowing what he's talking about and being this sort of rescue person, but maybe people are a bit more sympathetic to
Okay.
remember as it's like that sort of like, well, he knows what he's talking about, but I think maybe the guy even says, listen, you're going to have to take that up with Lieutenant Commander Latal. He sets the regulations here.
Uh, is there anything else that tells us about your time in search and rescue? Do we see like a personal vac suit that you have, or do we actually now see the knife? Like what do we see on screen here?
I think you can see, he's wearing the standard Star Trek gear with the phaser at the hip, right? Like, because he's a member of the security team as well. So he does have that. But then, alongside the phaser in a sort of short kind of black scabbard, there is just that blade sticking out from the hip as he talks. And, I think as Vate's arguing, he's arguing, and he's going to go, listen, I can tell you're frustrated, okay?
Oh, you can sense my anger, huh?
Yeah, whew, really coming off, okay? I get your point. I'll put it back. But I'm going to make sure that but this shuttle, this runabout, this is going to be mine, okay?
As you say, Lieutenant.
Hey, I know you share a bunk, right? You can have mine. I'll sleep in here.
And he just kind of like not sure whether you're joking or what, but he'll just kind of nod at you and head on.
Yeah, Vate just winks at him and goes back in the ship, picks up the box, and then very deliberately places it on the other side of the mothball.
Lieutenant Commander Latal, you have had time to be on the ship, to be over it. Like, what is the scene that we see of you here? Are we down in engineering? Are we seeing your rooms? What do you think we are?
Oh, engineering.
Okay.
I don't think we'll see Lital's room until probably, the second series, to
Okay.
be honest. I think he'll always be in engineering or on the bridge. And yeah, I think that probably the way that the warp core is this cylindrical structure with usually some gantry work around it. Given the kind of haphazard nature of how you put this together, I think that gantry is pretty makeshift. But he's called the key engineering team into that space. And he's up on the gantry and he's just reading through a list of people and jobs, and reassuring them that the captain has assured him, the captain has assured me that we'll be getting some additional manpower to get this done quickly. I've been through the crew, and I don't know why some of these people have not been allocated to engineering already. We did Ward has excellent grades from the Academy in Engineering, so I'll be pushing to get her and some of the other newly assigned staff here.
Do you think that this engineering team that you have here, are these all people that worked with you on the building, or is it some of them and some new people? What do you think that is?
I think it's better if it's new people.
Okay.
Who don't know me, don't know my way of working, and but I assume they do.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of friction. You're talking to them like they were the team that worked with you, and
Exactly.
you know,
Because it's seamless, they're practical professional individuals. The name on the sheet really doesn't matter.
there is that bit where it maybe throws you off when some people start asking about some of the notation that you have on there, which you'd already worked out for other people. But they're like,
Exactly.
can you explain what you mean by this notation, sir?
I would. Okay, I'll send you a memo.
Uh, uh, okay, sir. And then I think there's that kind of first day, like they're gonna be quiet, they're gonna see what happens, they're gonna try and see if they can figure it out there. Um, are there any Tellarites besides yourself on the engineering staff?
No,
No.
no. This would be much better if there were, but what can
Are
you
there
do?
any other Tellarites on the ship to your knowledge?
I would really prefer it if there weren't,
Okay,
because that would allow the chip on my shoulder to grow.
absolutely. So let me go around and ask another question. We kind of got pictures, shots of you arriving, that sort of first, you know, before for credits. Uh, what is something else unusual about the Kintsugi? Either a way it's set up, or a system it has, or a physical detail, or particular extra kind of personnel. Uh, uh, Commander Carlton, what's something else that this ship has?
I'm going to go ahead and say it's got an aquatic deck.
Like a fully immersive aquatic deck?
Yeah, because I think we've got some aquatic crew members.
Okay, so like the station, I can't remember how you say that, but the dolphin level from Enterprise, there is a whole one of those. So we've got like a micro deck. There's probably just two or three station personnel there. They're very good at navigation and plotting and scientists and things like that. So yeah, and I do think it is also used for certain experimental stations and things like that. And people can swim in there with the permission of the station. So I think we do get, in the fly through the ship, we see that with the little like communication devices they have on them with their little comm badges and so on, and they're talking. I imagine that uh, they have screens as well, and I think maybe we get a shot of them watching engineering and Latal giving his speech there, and then they kind of look at each other and then swim off.
Yeah, it's one of those scenes, isn't it? Where, like in Hellboy, where it just kind of appears up against the glass.
I like it. Astrid, what's another feature, usual, something different about this ship?
Do we think that water level is horizontal, like a whole deck, or is it transversal from like top to bottom?
Ooh. Paul, what do you think?
I'm willing for Donna to. He thought of it. So what do you want, Donna?
Well, I'm wondering if it's vertical. Maybe the turbo lifts are like split, so you have to go to a port or a starboard turbo lift. You can't get into any one you want, depending on where your location is.
Okay.
Which is maybe causing confusion in the crew, until they realize. And that means you might have to do a walk and talk at some
Okay.
stage if you're going from to a central location.
Well, look, the warp core is here, and there is a vertical turbolift shaft here. That's and given that we know that they are located in this vicinity, maybe that's where the split takes.
Okay, yeah.
So we've got maybe a vertical station tank that goes across levels. We've got paired turbo lifts, but they are a little split around that require a little more walking than you might normally do. Lieutenant Vate, what is another thing we see here about our ship?
What's the name of the bar in the something forward?
10 forward?
10 forward. Obviously, that's for a Galaxy class ship, right? Like we don't have anything quite so fancy here. I think the crew lounge on the Kintsugi is, however, surprisingly nice because it has been refurbished with the retrieved luxuries from that were scattered across Wolf 359. So you have what looks to have been several captains' personal belongings. Those fine mahogany woods, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit grim, and I think what should it be called instead of 10 forward? Maybe something to do with that. I think that it's got a proper name, but I think that the name that the crew often gives it is the graveyard.
Ooh.
Because it's made up of there people often say about how you can see the plasma scorching on the underside of that table or of that thing, and they call it pulling the graveyard shift when they head down there.
There was a suggestion that we should discard that material, but it seemed to be absolutely why would you throw it away?
Irresponsible to waste that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the Vates, as Lital says that, Vate's like, for once, I think I agree with you. As he leans back in an extremely articulated chair, right?
I like that. And Alan, finally, what's another detail here?
I think that I'll play up your point about the asymmetric nacelles. The upper one, not all of it is accessible from inside. So maintenance on the dorsal nacelle has to be done from outside. Whereas normally you'd expect people to do most of that from the Jeffries tubes inside. And that's because there was a point where we plugged it together and the Jeffrey tubes just don't line up.
Right. So a little more of the kind of the spacewalk 0G. A lot of the engineering personnel have been trained for that. That probably that knowledge was key to them being chosen here. And I think we probably do see a shot of someone out there doing a last minute repair and checkup as they come in. And I think then we kind of cut to the bridge. Commander Carlton, what do you say to set this ship off? Do you want to do a speech, or do you want to just show us your make it so moment? Like, what do we want to see here?
No, I think I will ask the comms officer to open a ship-wide channel.
Channel's open, sir.
Who is the comms officer? The comms officer is Ensign Farga.
Farga?
Farga, F-A-R-G-A.
Okay.
Farga. Female.
Okay.
Human. I'm open to anybody else wants to throw anything more in for Lieutenant Farga or Ensign Farga.
What if they have some cybernetic implants?
Yep.
Injured wolf.
I like the idea that they were an ensign then. They're an ensign still 18 months later because they've had to go through a variety of therapies and work and implants and stuff in that recovery process. So what is it you say to your crew here before you have the ship launch?
I will say, I know we haven't had time to train together. Things are afoot within the Federation. Much must be done to prevent another Borg cube coming to Federation space. As such, my mission, and therefore our mission, is to explore into the Delta Quadrant.
Not the Delta Quadrant.
Okay, explore into
Alpha Quadrant.
Alpha Quadrant, looking at possible contested frontiers and other entry points where the Borg may come in. That is our mission. All of you are important to achieve it. Together, we will achieve great things.
Excellent. And I think we see the ship launching out of one of those space bays that we've seen there. I imagine it is maybe a little bit more hesitant than we've seen on a launch before the ship pulls away from Mars, and we see you heading out. We're going to take our first break here. We're going to take 10. I have sent you now in Slack, Paul, the captain's log for our first mission, which I will let you, there's some bits which you may paraphrase and so on. And when we come back, we will start with that. So take 10. So one of the things we'll decide at some point is the ship, put the stats in there. It gets 4 talents. I've got 3 of those on there: the improved warp drive, redundant sensors, and the rugged design. And then we'll eventually look in and choose a 4th one at some point for the ship that we might find interesting. But I imagine we get the title shots for Star Trek Kintsugi. I mean, we've got brilliant CG, but it is the classical. We see space in the background, we see the ships, but I think the transitions are things shattering and then coming back together. Like, I think that's the transition between moments of the ship flying and the planets and so on, before we come to a shot after the credits of the ship flying through space, and we get our first voiceover for the captain.
This is the first mission of the Kintsugi. Our mission is to go to system Zenkaro on the edge of the Cardassian DMZ. We are to investigate an M-class planet with possible warp-capable society called Relhic 3. This was previously visited by the USS Buran, but no report was filed by that ship due to its involvement in Wolf 359. I expect the crew to perform admirably, can't even say it, and I'm sure it'll be an excellent outcome for our first mission.
And I think we see the ship come out of warp. It's a standard system, slightly greenish tint to the yellow sun, and we will see the group heading towards the planet. So this is one of those cases where we're going to kind of walk around and see what people are doing, either at their stations, or if you want to, run a support character to undertake something different in the case of this. So, Captain, what are your orders here? What's going on?
I'm going to say let's take up a long-range approach to give the planet a wide berth. I want a full sensor suite of the planet and the sun. Engineering, prepare the shuttlecrafts. Tactical, no weapons present, but get ready in case we need them. Con, make it happen.
So, Astrid, you're going to be maneuvering the ship for the moment to get it in a good position, the right for thing. So this will be control plus con.
Okay. Oh, my dice thing has gone away while it reloaded. So I might just have to roll traditional dice instead
As you
of waiting
wish.
for me to fire all that up. So I'm rolling 2d20, right?
2d20. So here's how I'm going to say this. So this is control plus con. You have helm operations, which is a focus. So what that means is, because it's a focus, we look at your con, which is a 4, and it means that anything that rolls a 4 or less counts as 2 successes. So normally you'll hear me say, all right, roll is 15/4, meaning you need a 15 or less, and if you get a 4 or less, that's a critical. That's how I generally talk about rolls in this. Right now, this is a difficulty 1. It's a pretty easy thing, but it's an unknown system. You're getting used to the gravity wells and all of that kind of thing. So let's have you roll.
Okay. So that is a 2 and an 8.
So that's 3 successes.
3 successes.
So what that means is the difficulty was 1, means you've got 2 momentum. Now you could use that momentum to increase the effect or obtain information. Those would be the classical things that you could use that for. Alternately, you can also throw that momentum into the momentum pool for the group. It will that will decline by 1 at the end of each scene, but anybody can use that. They can use it to buy extra d20s or some other effects. So you are moving yourself smoothly into position, at a far orbit of the planet. Do you want to do anything with that extra momentum?
Or could I possibly create an advantage for whoever is going next, or would
Absolutely.
I just bank it?
So that creating advantages costs 2, but what do you want to call that?
I mean, cinematically, we call this coming out of the sun, right, or whatever.
Okay.
So we have a superior position or kind of momentum in the from the whatever Lagrange point we're coming into.
You've found the point that kind of is the perfect orbit that keeps control over this. That's a trait that other people can use in this scene to reduce the difficulty if it's applicable. Commander, I'm going to come back to you to kind of finish up. I want to check in with our other crew people here. Lieutenant Vale, Will, what do you want to be doing here?
I was hoping that I could take control of a supporting character.
Okay. So
Uh,
who is our supporting character we're going to have?
I was thinking Ensign Fargo, the comms
Okay.
officer.
All right. And what is it you want to do with Ensign Farga?
So we're here. We're in a first contact situation, right? Like
Well,
warp signature.
potentially second contact. You don't know what happened with the Baran here.
Yeah. So I think any society that develops warp capability, Starfleet operations manual shows that they will have developed an extensive planetary communication system, if not interplanetary, local interplanetary system. So Ensign Farga is going to, as you know, the readouts flit across her bionic eyes, and she tunes in the built-in receiver in her skull. She's got a comms badge in, I think. She's going to try and pick up on any chatter, any signals. Have they noticed us, for example?
Perfect. So you're gonna let's go through the process of doing the supporting character. So you're gonna assign stats for Farga. It's 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, and then 7 for attributes.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to give her control of 10, precision, accuracy, careful timing. A reason of 9, insight of 8, and then a presence.
Got a 9, an 8, and a 7 left.
Oh, 2 9s. I'll give her an insight of 9 because she's going to be my.
So 2 8s left.
2 8s. I think a daring has been taken a knock by being particularly hurt.
Right.
So I'll put a presence at 8.
Okay. And then and put fitness at 8 as well. And then disciplines are, her highest will be a 4.
Okay. Which one do we think would apply mostly to operator? Be con, would it?
No, and then science would be the 2 kind of things we would use here, probably.
Yeah. Go with a science of 4. So
then you've got 3.
One of 3. 2 in engineering.
1 more 2.
1 more 2. I think that would probably be in command.
Okay.
Yeah, because that involves interpersonal interactions, negotiation.
And then we're going to give her 3 focuses. So I'm going to go around and have other people come up with the focuses here. Commander Carlton, what's a focus that Ensign Farga, our comms officer, has?
Polite.
Okay, all right. So like the focus would be diplomacy or diplomatic.
Yeah.
Okay. So will you put that in under focuses? And Donna, what's another focus that our comms officer will have? It is legit to say communications.
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep it simple and straightforward. I mean, I don't know if that is like a very broad focus to have communications.
That is fine. It's an area sort of below what a discipline covers, so I think that's fair. Communications or ship's comms are another way to say that. Alan, what about for you?
At the risk of an overlap, I'm going to suggest linguistics.
Okay. So diplomatic, like let's say ship's comms and linguistics. So Will, you will roll for Ensign Farga, And this does feel like control plus science. You're kind of trying to do that analysis here.
Yes. Where is the dice roll?
Yeah, and let me pause here. So mechanically, I would be throwing in extra dice for the ship systems, but we're not going to worry about that right this second. We're just playing around with stuff on this first session.
And that's why I was like, I think I want to do a character because it's low stakes doing it now rather than
Right.
like. So I keep looking for the dice roller, and then I forgot it's literally there in the character sheet.
Yep.
That's getting used to.
So we're talking 14/4.
I'm just wondering 14/4 because it's just I have all my attributes obviously listed in there now, but
Right?
that doesn't really make a difference to the result, does it? I just roll the dice for the result.
Exactly.
It's an 8 and a 10.
8 and a 10. So that's going to be 2 successes. So the one thing I'll give you sort of with the difficulty 1, and then you can have the extra momentum to decide what you want to do, is there aren't any planetary, like planet-wide communications that you can detect in any of the conventional normal bands. You would expect there to be, radio, satellites, all of the kind of common things, not picking up any of that.
Commander Carlton, sir, I'm not detecting any signals in any of the known registers. Not even anything from the planet. There doesn't appear to be a satellite network out there, or if it is out there, then I'm sorry. It's not within anything they taught me at the academy.
And I think you'll see Carlton sort of spin his chair and look at Farga, and then back to the screen and sort of put his chin in his hand and go, "That's damn peculiar. Damn peculiar. Carry on trying. In fact, hail them."
Send out a message, sir?
Yeah. This is peaceful.
Yes, sir. And she will send out a broad spectrum broadcast saying, does she open the comm up to the commander, do we think, or does she to the captain?
No, I'm happy that she.
Okay. Yeah. Well, she's very polite, so she double checks with you first, right? Would you like
Captain?
to?
Captain,
Okay.
if I could just point out, Starfleet protocols would suggest that as the captain, this is potentially a first contact situation. You really should be the person who makes that contact.
Exactly. Don't worry. I'm expecting the person to answer, not to be the person I need to speak to. Let's start at the bottom and build high, and then I'll come in.
Very good, Captain.
Looks like slightly panicked at the interruption by Lital, but just and her voice cracks slightly as she goes, this is the USS Kintsugi of the Federation. We come in peace. We have detected a warp signature. We come in peace. Please respond on this band if you have the means or the capabilities. And she sets that to repeat.
Okay. So I've put from that roll, it was difficulty 1. You got 2 successes. So that would normally be 1 momentum, but we're going to assume that you used the trait, the superior position that Astrid created. So we will lower it actually to difficulty 0. So I put 2 momentum in the momentum pool.
But that's what I was going to say, was anything left over go into the pool.
Okay. Lital, before I come back to our commander, you're not getting any reply. The hail are going out system band wide across. No sign of a response from the planet.
I want to run an analysis of the atmosphere to determine if there's any sign of any industrialization. Maybe
right.
they're communicating using, other means. But it seems to me almost impossible that they could have a starfaring society that doesn't have, the usual mix of pollutants in the atmosphere. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I want to run that, and I want to run it through the computer
Yeah.
and compare it to other first contacts we have on file.
All right. So this feels like either reason or insight.
I think I'll go with reason.
Okay. And do you think this is an engineering or a science test?
I think it's probably science.
Okay.
But I do have a talent in computer expertise.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I may add a bonus D20 to the pool.
Okay. Yeah, when you spend a task that involves and bonus D20. So 3D20, reason plus science. I don't think you necessarily have anything that's a specialty. So it'll be 13/1 with 3D20.
Yeah. No, I'm going to try to use the Yonder dice roller. I think I've activated reason and science and added a third dice.
Okay.
So roll test. Has that cropped up in the rolls tab?
Yes.
It has. 319.6.
So you've got 2 successes there. Tell me, what is we're going to kind of do this. We got 2 points, effectively, 2 successes. What is the first question that you have?
Is there any sign of the mix of elements, pollutants, whatever in the atmosphere that would match that of the cultures we have on file capable of warp flight when we've encountered them first contact?
No. Like by parts per million, by analyzing the sort of the whole atmosphere of the planet compared to what you would expect for industrialization levels, that kind of thing, you're not picking up anything like that. What's your next question?
The other one, I suppose, is in terms of the dark side, are we seeing any sign of large scale, settlements? Are there any lights down there?
One of the things you will be able to realize, and you don't know the exact nature of this, and you're kind of comparing it. One of the things is that the Starfleet picked up a set of anomalous energy signatures, which is why they were sent out here. And the assumption was it was pre-warp. You're certainly picking up some weird energy signatures from the planet. And you can see that there are a number of settlements, but they are very small. Only one of them seems to be of a substantial size. The one location there, you're certainly getting more lights, but even for what you're getting, kind of just a kind of the barest outline of like what size of this place is, it is fewer lights than you would expect.
Yeah. And is that anomalous energy signature overlapping any of those settlements?
Well, that's a whole different question, isn't it?
Okay,
I've given you you've got your
fair
2.
Yeah. Fine.
Okay. Well, actually, I take that back. We've got the superior position as a bonus, so that would have given you an extra because it would have reduced the difficulty. So the energy signatures are very much atmospheric scattered. You're having a hard time pinning down, at least at this broad scope, pinning down exactly where the energy signatures are located, if they're at a generation point or something. It's very unusual and anomalous. I will tell you this, that you suspect that standard transporter won't work here without some effort to set some things up to transport down, and even then you kind of worry about what it would be like to transport back up.
Which is to say, it won't be a problem.
Fair enough.
I'm good at that.
Commander Carlton, what is it that you want to know? What is it that you want to do? And I'm going to pause here for a second. So one of the classic things for you to do as a captain is to assign another person to a task, and then we roll on your scores to say, I want, the science officer to look at this or something like that. That's also a possibility besides doing a supporting character.
Yeah, let's have the. So we've looked at its comms. Yeah, science officer. We're going to go down there. So yeah, get me some knowledge about life forms down there.
All right. So let's have you roll. This is your sort of commanding. So what do you think is appropriate? We'll use science for the discipline, but what's the attribute you were using here for you kind of pushing your person to do this task well?
Well, I think it's control.
Okay, absolutely. So control plus science. So we're looking at a 13 here.
Okay, this.
I've got the advisor talent.
Okay.
Which says when you assist another character using your command discipline, the character being assisted may re-roll 1d20.
Okay. So you're going to assist, which means that generally you're going to roll a d20 with those same numbers. Alan, Paul, you're going to roll 2d20 and you can re-roll one of those d20.
Okay, so I've pressed the control and I've pressed science.
Mm-hmm.
Just is a roll test now, is it?
Yep.
A 4 and a 10.
4 and a 10. So right now you've got 2 successes. Alan, did you roll your d20?
I didn't. I will do now. A 20. Ha ha ha.
Okay. So that's a complication there.
Not like that. Like this, Captain.
So I think a scan can determine that there are humanoid life forms down on the planet. There is a major settlement that is present there. And the science officer goes, Captain, this is very strange. I'm reading a mix of I'm seeing some industrial signs of industrialization or some machinery, but the tech level of the planet seems to be medieval.
Damn peculiar.
Captain, also, it's faint. It's only because I've boosted it, but I'm picking up a Federation SOS signal at the very edge of the spectrum, like it's decaying, that's coming from the largest settlement.
I think I'll go ahead.
There's a pause. Not far away from the largest settlement, I'm also picking up a Cardassian landing beacon.
Damn, they beat us to it. Ward, shuttlecraft, I feel. You up for piloting it?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Get to the bay and get it ready. I'll assemble the rest of the team, Ward.
Yeah, and in that seamless TNG way, at the moment I step up out of my console, another ensign just miraculously appears.
They've been waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
So, Commander Carlton, Are you taking our other PCs? Are you taking anybody else additionally? Are you changing that up? What do we need to know about this away team here?
I will be going. I don't like really ordering. I'm going to throw it out there to Lieutenant Vale.
Vate, sorry, Vate, guys. I will change it to Vale if everyone keeps calling me Vale.
I'm sorry.
Not that.
No, really, the T is so small in Zoom.
Yeah.
It just does look like an L.
To be Vale, to be honest with you. So if that's what people are going to call me, then that's fine. But I almost think that the second that you mentioned, like the Cardassian, the Starfleet thing, Vate was already like prepping things on his whatever, and you don't even before you even turn to order him, he's already walking out with Ward. He didn't wait for the order, and I would say that otherwise out of character. I know that you don't like ordering other players, but I think we can take it as read that like out of character we'll object to it if we don't want to comply with an order, and otherwise we'll just say that you're ordering us to do the things that we end up doing anyways, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean it's a big thing to force somebody to play a different character.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel, yeah, I'm willing to have that discussion with them of why they think they should be going, but
maybe we could handle it by like if we could put it in the chat, right? Like if we're attached to using our character or not, and then it could be like, for example, I didn't want to in the bridge scene really play my character because until the gunfight started, it doesn't seem that necessarily relevant, right?
Especially for things where it might be like an away team kind of thing. That's the point in which people will have you put in chat whether you want your character to go or not.
You want to play?
Yeah.
You need to have some bodies together.
Lieutenant Commander Latal, are you going?
No, I want to create a science officer.
Okay. So you've seen the stats. You've seen how to do that. Tell us about this science officer we're creating here.
Well, let me start with science because that's logical. Science 4, medicine 3. 2 3s are 2 and 2 1s. Am I right?
It's 4 3 2 2 1 1.
2 2 1 1. Okay. Then then medicine 2. Security 3, because I'm going to make them Andorian.
Okay.
Command and con 432 4322. 2 in engineering.
Okay. And then 1 in command and con then.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yep. And then 10 9 9 8 8 7 for attributes.
Okay, I think reason 10. Control, no, that's not daring. That's the one we want for Andorian. We want 9 in daring, 9 in fitness, 2 8s and a 7.
2 8s and
8 in control and in presence, 7 in insight.
What is the name and gender of this Andorian? He, him, they, them, she, her.
Ensign, I will find you an Andorian name in a moment.
Okay.
Science officer, and I think he, him.
Okay. Paul, what's a focus for our science officer here who's going on with the mission with you?
So these are like real sciences, aren't they? So let's have xenobiology.
Perfect. Dana, what's another focus that our science officer will have?
Well, let's put in something on the security line,
Okay.
like small unit tactics or something.
Sure,
like that.
I like that. And then Lieutenant Vate, what is the last focus?
I think it is. What's the right word for it? Thinking like energy sources, like kind of
What about tricorder op? Is that too vague?
vague.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, tricorder specialist.
All right. So we will cut to the shuttle bay. Commander, is there anything unusual about our shuttles? I'm going to assume they're slightly mismatched shuttles here, but what's striking about the shuttle that we have here on the ship that you're going on?
Yeah, oh no, all the shuttles have come from other vessels, and the nameplates on them, it has been a quick hack weld job putting on Kintsugi sort of nameplate, and then the sort of sub for the shuttles. Yeah, that's obvious on all of them. The plates are like a different color. I think this one we're on is a I think this one is quite battle scarred.
And so we'll see the four of you loading up onto the shuttle, and Ensign Ward. So you do the vague hand gestures over things. Yes, Commander.
I think just before we go, I'll turn to Lieutenant Vate and say, did Latal send down the transporter overdrive compiler so we can get a decent transporter signal? Has that arrived yet, Vate?
I'm told his team is bringing it rapidly, so I'm not sure how do we need to do like opportunity rolls or something for
Yeah, I think this is, if you want to have like for this mission, you would like to have pulled up one of those transporter enhancers. Vate, would you make an engineering roll for your standard character? I think this is difficulty 2.
Would it not be Vital making that roll, given that we are still on the ship?
Yeah, his standard character, Latal.
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon.
My character, that's all.
So what am I rolling with?
God damn it, Latal, get that down here now.
This is to have had this ready to go, an insight plus engineering roll.
Insight and engineering roll test. That is 14 and 17.
And what is your insight and engineering?
It is not 14.
Okay. So no, you don't have that ready. What do you say?
We don't have them. I can build you one.
It's standard issue, Latal.
It may be standard issue, Captain, but I will remind you that this ship isn't.
God damn it, Latal.
I will happily build you one.
About transporters.
Well, I do now, Captain, but I wondered why you were taking the shuttle, to be honest.
Well,
get it on a follow-up shuttle once you've replicated one.
I'll build you one and I'll transport it down to you when it's done.
Didn't we establish that you couldn't transport stuff down?
Oh, there's a problem with it.
Well, here's what I said. Transporting down is difficult. You know that. It could be done, but it's gonna take a roll. Transporting back up is also a challenge unless you have one of the devices that you're talking about.
And so I will endeavor to build one and transport it down to them.
Okay. So that'll be a scene we'll do later. Astrid, we'll see the shuttlecraft bay doors open. Force field, we'll see the shuttlecraft lift off, and you will begin heading down into the atmosphere of this planet. And as soon as you hit the atmosphere, you will immediately be buffeted as the ship's sensors and energy panels, they start to kind of go wild. There's some kind of anomalous energy in the atmosphere making this difficult. So right now, you are going to try and pilot this down. So I think you can use the shuttlecraft's D20, its ship systems, plus your own 2D20. What do you want to roll for the piloting here?
I mean, I wonder if, like, trying to land this instead of just wiping the mission, like scrubbing off back into orbit, is kind of something I'm doing regardless of the risk. I've been given an order and I'm going to follow through. So maybe daring.
Yeah.
And
con.
Daring, con. Yeah.
So daring and con. So here is what I'm going to say to you. Right now, this is a difficulty 3. You've got 3D20 to do this with. Mm-hmm. It's a difficulty 4 to do this without being spotted by local inhabitants.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So let's look at the character sheet. Do you have any focus that is appropriate?
I mean, I don't know that shuttlecraft counts as helm operations. I don't think so.
No, that would be shuttlecraft operations.
Yeah. I mean, evasive action is probably against fire, not people seeing us.
That's true. I'll tell you what, I will let you use improvisation on this one, but you can never use it again on shuttlecraft operations, and that's how we're going to work with that focus. How about that?
Okay, yeah, that works. That works for me.
So that's 15/4, and you're going to roll 3d20.
What is determination?
So determination can be spent if you have a value that works with it. You can spend it before you roll to give yourself essentially one of the dies at a 1. It can also be spent after a roll to re-roll any of the dice that you would like.
So I have the captain's ability, which is that commanding officer may spend a point of determination to grant any other character they can communicate with 1 point of determination. This does not have to be linked to a value. So do I have some determination?
Yes, everybody is going to start with 1 determination.
Okay, so I'm willing to grant that to Donna.
Okay.
But I also have another talent called Veteran. Whenever the character spends a point of determination, roll 1d. If an effect is rolled, immediately regain the point.
Okay. So go ahead and roll one of those CDs dice that's down at the bottom of the roller. It's a D6. Just roll one of those.
So that looks like a 2.
Okay. So Paul got a Joker, which means you got an effect. So you get your determination back. You get determination back. So Donna, right now, the point of determination that he has spent gives you a 1, which means 2 successes, and then you roll your 3d20s.
Okay. So I guess I will. So do we have to decide now if I'm going for the not be spotted or?
No. This is just what will happen.
Okay. So I think I will. As we start to get buffeted, it will be, I was about to ask Sir whether you wanted us to come in quietly, but at the moment I'm looking for down in one piece as I like push the nose into atmosphere and roll my 3 dice. A 2, a 3, and a 16. So
okay. So right now you have 6 successes, which means you can land this without being spotted, and you've got 2 extra momentum, which you can put in the pool if you want, or if there's something you want to do with it right away. But before we go too far, describe to me what that looks like. Like, what does the sequence look like? You come down the atmosphere, there's these weird energy Coriolis going on and things. What do we see happen?
Yeah, so I think I'm coming down maybe like on the um at a very shallow angle, and then I kind of dive down through like the dawn break. So the light that's coming off during the reentry just looks like a bit of uh, nice sunrise or sunset, whatever makes the most sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Catching it. Do you want to do anything with that extra momentum you had?
Yeah, I'll just bank at that.
Okay. So you will land the shuttle. You are a ways away from this larger settlement, the one that has the strange semi-industrialization and also has the signal, the Starfleet SOS beacon that you've gotten, and you will land that, and we'll see, the ship coming down, the holographic projector, standard op to camouflage it, and then I think we see the 4 of you. You've got the standard issue like cloaks when you go into a place that kind of blend in medieval kind of thing. So it's going to be a challenge, but you've got that equipment. And I think you can see there is a wooden fence. There are these strange 6-legged animals that are in a pen there. You can see there's a little primitive wooden style farmhouse here, and off in the distance you can see sort of the walls of a city, maybe some larger you could see maybe some larger constructs from here, and you can start heading that way. Let's take our second break, and then we'll take up with you heading towards the settlement. So I imagine we get the shots of the 4 of you walking along. You will see some of the locals at a distance, but you're also kind of you've come in towards dusk, so that you have a little bit of darkness to help you out. They are humanoid, but with a different kind of skin tone. It is a classic sort of Star Trek. It's not entirely low budget, but it's certainly that it worked there. In fact, I will put a picture of one of them in the NPC tab. Did I do it right? Tried to. And oh no. There we go. So sort of semi-feline appearance there. They might be Cation of some of that, or Lyran. There are a couple of different possibilities of genetic connections, or there might be something entirely different. We haven't seen much of our science officer here that's come along. Tell us something about what we see. What is Thavilk? Thavilk. What is Ensign Thavilk like?
Thavilk wants to be in security. From his point of view, the academy selection process got it wrong. His father was in security. He should have been in security. He's a science officer, but his hobby is security and tactics. But he knows his job, so the first thing he does as soon as we get out of the shuttle, out of sight, is to run a sensor scan. Flip open the tricorder and just try to work out a couple of things. One, local energy signatures, and two, where's that Cardassian landing beacon relative to here?
All right. So let's have you make that roll, and then we'll kind of come around and check with the others about what they're doing along this trip.
Okay, so I'm seeing this as he doesn't mess about, so I'm going to go with daring and science.
Okay.
There
and
we
you
go.
took tricorder as
I took tricorder as a focus.
okay.
So I will roll that. Here we go.
So 13
That's a
slash
9
4.
and a 13, and sadly I am at 12.
So one success. What is your primary question here?
Principal question is, because of his pre-interest, is where are the Cardassians?
So you will pick up that several clicks outside of the city, there is what you get the sense of is basically a transporter marker, like landing pad marker. It's the kind of thing that you would put down to mark out a spot, and you would have to actually kind of move away from the city to get closer to that. It's clearly they had landed like outside of the settlements, or transported outside of the settlements.
And my subsidiary question, therefore, is Cardassian life signs.
You are not picking up any Cardassian life signs in that area around the landing pad.
Okay.
Okay. Vate, Ward, Carlton, as you're traveling along, we see you. Like, what is Vate doing? Let's start with you, our kind of more tense, other security oriented person.
I think that Vate, gives Fidelic. How do we say?
Hard, the th, Tavilic.
Yeah. Gives a nod to Tevilic, as he sees scanning the things, and then the security, the small unit tactics of taking up a good leading position. And Vate drifts to the back, holding up the rear, and murmurs to the others, as we look through the scans of the local population. Perhaps as one of them goes past on a horse and cart, right, just off in the far enough away that they can't see us through our hoods, and just turns to Ward and says, "Well, I don't think we're going to be blending in anytime soon."
Well, not with this cloak. I'm not sure we're tall enough to pull it off. I wonder if these or aliens are a good like 1.5 feet taller than any of us, as well as being a little bit more muscular.
A little bit different body shape. You could pass if you have some of their clothing, some of their cloaks, but right now it's going to be a challenge.
Stay close, kids. Cardassians. I mean, last I heard, I don't know, has the peace treaty been signed at this point? Would we think?
Because the Cardassians have pulled out of Bajor, but there's this whole area of the DMZ that has a lot of questionable places, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, huddle in team.
Commander?
Okay, huddle in team. This is how it's going to play out. I'd like Ward and Tavilic to go to the Cardassian landing zone, disable the landing beacon, and if possible, capture and return to the ship with any Cardassian ship you can lay your hand on. If it cannot be captured, remove it from play.
Yes.
Captain.
But
Sir,
capture is what we want to do. If they're not there, which Tvilic you say they're not, let's remove their movement and their possible reinforcements from the board.
Captain, I wouldn't want us to reopen the border wars. This isn't a Federation planet or a Cardassian planet. They've got as much right to be here as us. I agree with you taking them off the board, but in my view, disabling their ship quietly would be the best approach here. If the Cardassians, if we mess with their ship, you know what they're like. You give them an inch, they'll take a whole sector.
Let's not give them anything to worry about, Vape. I've got faith in Ward that will just remove that entire ship. They won't know who's done it.
Okay.
The other part of the plan, me and yourself will go in, attempt first contact with the society here, and
I will point out,
yep,
Prime Directive wants you to not make first contact. You have seen no evidence of this planet and this civilization being warp capable.
Very well. Let's go into town and root out the Cardassians, because they're not governed by the Prime Directive.
Beacon, though, sir. It could
They're
be
not at their beacon.
No, but there's the Cardassians beacon, and then there's the distress signal, the Starfleet distress signal.
That's in the settlement,
Urban
isn't
location. Yeah, it's in the city that you're headed towards.
We'll do that
Yeah.
while we're there, Vape.
And Vate bites back at his priorities as Starfleet personnel, not the settlement. But yeah.
All right. So, Ward, Tvilic.
I am, given the response from Tvilic, I'm looking for some definitive order from our commander about who is in charge. And I want Tvilic to hear it if the answer is me.
Well, the prime mission is to recover the vehicle, so it's going to fall to you, Ward.
Thank you, sir.
So Ward, Tvilic, you two will take off on foot, heading towards this Cardassian landing spot. This is going to require a little bit of stealth. You are in outer areas. You're away from the city, but there's still some settlements and people moving around through here. And you look odd to anybody potentially seeing you. So I think this is difficulty 2. So what do you want to roll that with, Ensign Astrid?
I mean, I wonder if we're being cautious. Do we think this is us figuring out the safest way through, or the way through least likely to get noticed? So
sure,
maybe insight, and I
okay.
guess security still is probably.
So let's have you roll insight and security. I don't think you have any focuses that would be appropriate for this. Oh, evasive action you have.
Yeah, I think that's. Is that being shot at when I'm piloting a ship? Or maybe
I'm liking this. Let's say 12/2 for you, and let's check in. Ensign Tvilic, what do you want to roll this with?
I think this is daring and security.
Okay. And do you have
You
anything
know,
for
I think
stealth?
it's going from tree to tree.
I don't think you necessarily have anything that would be a focus for stealthing your way
Small
up.
unit tactics.
Oh, okay. Let's go with that. So right now,
Would
that
this suggest we're both going to be using the same approach if
no,
we're
you can use
getting
different
your
approaches.
tactics? Okay,
I'm fine with that.
You're just
Uh,
lagging behind.
sure.
And you're 12/3, Tavalic. Ensign Ward, why don't you roll first?
Insight security. A 4 and a 19. So the 4
So you've got one
is
success.
1.
Now you can leave that there. Or you also have a point of determination if you want to spend to reroll that 19. You can also wait and see what Tavalic gets. What do you think, Donna?
Yeah, I think wait and see.
Okay.
If we're following his lead, maybe wait and see.
So 12/3 for Ensign Tavalic.
That's a 10 and a 9.
So I'm going to take the second one that you rolled there. So that's 2 successes. So you're going to draw some attention right now with the total of 3 successes of the kind of group 4 you needed. Are you fine with that, Ward, or do you want to spend determination? Everyone starts the mission with 1 point.
Yeah. So it's 1 point for a reroll, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough call. Or you could take the little bit of complication here.
Yeah, let's go with the complication.
So the 2 of you will make your way up over to an area that's fairly flat, a little bit open. And you will see the scorch marks that identify like Cardassian shuttlecraft landing here. Okay. You will see there is a spot, like a mound, that you're guessing they've buried the signal like this. You don't see any shuttlecraft here. And just by looking at it, you guess that they haven't been here. There's been no landing here for a while, maybe weeks, if not months. But you will probably see around here, like clearly there was some activity in the area. But as the 2 of you are kind of looking around and moving around, you will hear a noise, and you will see that there are a group of 3 figures armed with bows that have kind of clearly heard or seen something up here at this area. Maybe we're standing guard here and are moving up towards where you're at. We'll come back to the 2 of you in just one moment. Commander Carlton, Lieutenant Vate, let me tell you kind of what you see as you approach the city. And then there's going to be a roll you're going to have to make here before you even go in. You can see it's a medieval style city walls here. A combination of stone and wood, built up medieval, early medieval. There are gateways that have doors on them. And you would usually expect that the kind of thing that at here in the evening time or at dusk, they would be closed, but they're not. And you don't see any guards posted at the gates. You do see people coming back and forth through those gates. But one of the things you can see is kind of over the walls from where you're at, like a simple tricorder scan will pick up that there are some large-scale industrial heat signatures, like there's some machinery or something inside the city. And from here, it's difficult to make out exactly what it is, but you can see that they're doing some large-scale monumental construction with, looks like stone and maybe even metal, that just from this distance doesn't look the same as the rest of the architecture or buildings or things around here. Now, before we go any further, could I have both of you make a roll for me? And I think this is going to be presence plus security or command, whichever is better for you.
Could I use my spirit of discovery talent, which is basically I spend a point of determination and add 3 points to the group's momentum pool.
Yeah.
And clearly, as soon as I spend a determination, my veteran trait kicks in.
Okay.
So I need to roll to see if I get it back.
Right.
I've done something.
Yeah, so it's a blank, so you do not get it back.
Okay.
So
we've got 3 in the momentum.
Right. So the maximum, so it was at 4, but the maximum it can go to is 6. So you've got 6 points in the pool. Okay. Extra D20s can be bought. The first one is one momentum, get you an extra D20. If you want another one, that's 2 momentum, so it'd be 3 to get 2. So you're almost always better off just buying one than anything else. So let's start with you.
Right?
Pardon?
You have to spend momentum before the roll, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
going to spend 1 momentum.
Okay.
We've
All right. So you've got a presence of 9, and your better one is security, right?
Yes. Just looking at any of my abilities, I don't think any of them are relevant.
It's true, because this is not a stealth roll. This is something else.
Yes. Well, I was wondering if my either if you could tell me if any of my focuses, such as cultural studies or espionage, might apply here.
No.
Cool. Just thought I'd check.
No, I think that's perfectly fine. So you need 14s. You spend a point of momentum.
And I got an incredibly low set.
A 3d20.
2, 7, and 1.
2, 7, and 1. So that's 4 successes.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? Sorry, I forgot.
That's great. I'll come back to what that looks like in a second, because you're going to be able to get some information. Commander Carlton, can I have you make that same roll?
I will spend a point for the pool.
Okay.
So if I want 3 dice, how do I do that?
You hit the plus beside that hex there.
Excellent. Got it.
And you need 14s.
An 8, a 12, but a 20.
Okay. So the 2 of you are walking along when you're getting close to the city, kind of moving between some of the like trees and natural barriers up here, when you will feel something wash over you. A feeling hits you. And Commander Carlton, it will like it takes you by surprise, feel something kind of tug you, but you resist it. Lieutenant Vate, you feel a psychic wave wash over you, and it washes into your mind, and you can tell that it is telling you, go into the city, go here, assign yourself to this work group, start building. Like it comes through. It's potent and powerful, and inhuman, and not like anything you've ever felt before. I will give you, because you got all those successes, you can spend, you've got 2 momentum, you can spend that to obtain information, or you can throw it back into the pool.
I just wanted to check that I rolled a 1. Does that do
That's
anything?
that's 4 successes. Yeah, you got yeah, because you got 2 successes on 2 of the dice.
Right.
One, you got 2 successes, and then the third die gave you 2 successes. So you got 4 successes total.
I got 2 successes just then. They used already.
Because the 1 gives you 2 successes.
No, I'm just wondering what they're spent on now. Sorry, I'm just trying to work out where the 4 has gone. Sorry to drag us down into rules.
Yeah, no. That's actually, so you the difficulty was a 2.
Oh,
You-
there we go. Difficulty 2. Sorry.
Difficulty 2. You've got a couple extra momentum left over. You can throw them into the pool, or you can use them immediately to do, in this case, probably either create an aspect or gain information.
Yes. I would like to cinematically stumble and grab onto the captain's shoulder, right, as this waves over me. And so the psychic way of the watch shows it's inhuman. It tells us to go into the city to go here and start working. It's not human. I would like to know exactly where this is originating from.
So you will have the sense that, like, you can see that there are some mountains a ways away from the city, but fairly nearby, certainly within a day's walk. And that is where that's coming from. You got 1 more momentum.
1 more momentum. I think, unless I can say that it may be, well, it's just I'm writing more about the source. I think I'm stretching it to say that it connects me to other people who are receiving the signal. You know what? Maybe like, can I get some sense of how many people here are under the influence of this voice? Like maybe like read that, that emotion that compulsion that it's trying to instill. Just get a sense of like, is everybody in this
This
set?
wave is washing over every organic thing in this area. You can see that it is not only affecting the people, the humanoids, but the animals. Like, there's a weird thing that's happening. Like, you realize you're seeing animals like carrying things on their own, or it's wild, it's potent, and it's carrying over. And you got a 20, Commander Carlton. Commander Carlton, you will get a hail from up at the ship, from the Kintsugi, from Ensign Farraga, or Farga. Commander, a Cardassian ship has just dropped out of orbit, out of warp, and is heading into orbit.
Tell Commander Barola to position himself on the opposite side of the planet, so they should never be able to see him.
And
we'll run a cat and mouse game.
I think this is our mid-episode break. We've got 3 people with bows coming towards the position where Ward and Tavilik are. We see in space a Cardassian ship come out of warp and start to approach. We see Vate probably kind of holding on to the commander and looking off in the distance. And I think there is a dun 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 stinger there as we go to credits. What do we see with our engineer? Because we have to have them show up on screen here in this end bit.
Of course, from the engineering station, he addresses Commander Varola and says, "Commander, does the captain realize that if we're on the other side of the planet, we will lose comms with him?"
Dun dun dun. So we'll come to there. So that's where we're going to stop. Next time, because we didn't come back to our engineer, we'll come back to him doing his mechanics role, and then we'll come back to dealing with these bowmen, and then dealing with the people at the city. Does that sound fair? Okay. That's where we'll stop. We will do stars and wishes if you all don't mind. Determination will not reset until the start of the next mission. The way to get around that is if you challenge one of your values. If you think one of your values kind of interferes with something you're doing, you can have it kind of create a problem for you, and you can get a point of determination back that way, sort of like getting a fate point. So let's do stars and wishes, particularly things you liked, didn't like, things you want to see more of, ones you want to see less of, things you want to see more long term. Let's go across our character keeper from right to left. So we will start with Latal.
Yeah, no, it's good fun. I think thanks to Will, a start of Will, for leaning into the kind of obvious friction between the Tellarite, who can often appear to be slightly rude, whereas in fact he's just being very straightforward, and Vate's kind of wishy-washy empathy stuff, all that personal skill stuff, and Ward being kind of caught in the middle. I like that. And Commander Carlton, I think that very, this is what we're going to do. This, Paul loves a plan, and we have plans. And a start to you, Lowell, I think, for trying to ease us gently into the system, because it's not in its nature the most intuitive of mechanical systems. Oh, that's my view, anyway.
No, I think that's right. It is only having played it quite a bit that I have the handle that I have on it. I still miss some things, but I think I've gotten so I kind of know what the options are, which is something that is a challenge to get together. Anything wishes wise?
I don't think so. I think I kind of want Carlton to be forced into a transporter at some point. Just and have Lital on the other end of that kind of. So yeah, no, but otherwise, I'm just curious to see where this story's going.
Okay. Astrid Ward.
Yeah, I really liked the kind of the world building extra questions that we had at the start. I know we had covered last week some very kind of surface details of where we were during Wolf 359, but everyone's pieces on this were pure gold this week. So thanks for returning to that, Lowell, as well. And yeah, very Star Trek vibes so far. So that's a star, I guess, in general. We are, although we've already teetered on the edge of playing Fast and Loose with the Prime Directive, which is also a very Star Trek
Very
vibe,
Star Trek thing,
yes. So yeah, and wishes, more the same next week, I guess.
Okay. And then Commander Carlton.
Thanks for guiding us through the system, as Alan said. It's quite a complex system, but clearly you do know it quite well there, Lowell. Alan, you are quite forthright with that character, that's for sure. But good for picking up the quick character. I think that is a good side of the game, and you leaned into that straight away. Donna, I like your character. You dove in straight away with some good sort of helm control, and you picked up straight on the shuttlecraft. Very good, and that was a good scene. You bringing in the shuttlecraft. Will, the telepath or the empath that you're playing, that was really good to see, and clearly you got some good Star Trek deep knowledge there. Yeah, really, Lowell, bringing that Kardashian ship on there right at the end, because I was going to ask for an orbital phaser strike on the mountain, but you know, I thought that would solve the problem very quickly.
This is why they give people from Starfleet Medical control of starships.
Anything
it's
wishes?
The will of God. It's inshallah. So it's not a prime directive problem. They can't even see the spaceship. It's inshallah. Yeah, no, really enjoying it. It's good. I like a bit of Trek.
Okay. And Lieutenant Vate.
I really enjoyed the supporting characters. I'm very glad that Alan has taken one of them down to the planet. Like that was totally what I was hoping for. I was looking at my own character and being like, but I've made a combat character. I've made the away team guy, basically. So I will probably be more open to play, but then I'm like, that means that every ship-based thing I can hopefully grab control of the comms officer, or who knows, maybe in Tavalic at some point, right? I'm looking for, I really love all of that sort of like ensemble type stuff, like in Band of Blades and things like that. So that's this wish as well, I guess. Thanks for everyone embracing all that and already populating the crew with people. I loved all that world building as well, you know, like this little ship and the place and all of the characters and how that informs the world. And it is a big established setting, but there's so much space for it, and your ship basically becomes a little world, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Patchwork ship, for example, which I love that as a feature, and it fed beautifully into Ward and Tavalic's backstories, and Carlton's as well, frankly. Wishes, I'm looking forward to grokking the system again after forgetting a lot of the Fallout 2D20 stuff. I get the base, but like there's so much more in Star Trek or in different words, you know, so it's like trying to wrap my head around it. The framing is also really different as well, right? Like I'm looking forward to building out more of that stuff, like especially like equipment, because it's Star Trek. It's very like you have the right tool in your pocket that your engineering team has put together or whatever, right? It's not you're scavenging in the wastelands for 2 bottles.
Yeah,
right.
Just be aware, I didn't take that talent. There is a talent.
Yeah,
Right tool for the right job.
Always leveling up, right? My other wishes would be doesn't have to be today, right? But I do want some red shirts. Like
Okay.
looking at that supporting list of NPCs as you know, like a hit list, basically. Right.
Okay.
One is going to go at some point.
I think that's perfectly
you do
fair.
have a red shirt. He's just wearing blue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just my final wish would be like, obviously, kind of the plan for the next session would be more like, we still have to find that Starfleet signal, but we do have to stop that thing. And I was thinking less orbital strike and more bombing run in our shuttle, perhaps. Astrid Ward having to do some avoiding Cardassian anti-aircraft fire as they approach something. But whatever, right? I'm just saying I'd love to lean into some of the more high actiony stuff from time to time as well, you know?
We will see. Oh yeah. I think that's fair though. I think that's a fair wish. Thank you all very much. I am going to stop the recording.